Hunt is presented by the Canadian Coalition for Firearm Rights. The CCFR is Canada's gun lobby. Also brought to you by Vortex Canada, the force of optics. Prophet River Firearms, your source for Canada's finest firearms, optics, and accessories. Legal services provided by Loberg Ector, your complex commercial litigation experts. Hey everybody, welcome to My Best Hunt. I'm your host, Rod Giltaca. Thanks for joining me again. Today in the studio, we have Caleb Bergman. How are you, man?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Good, and you came all the way, you drove all the way from Quesnel, British Columbia, down to the Lower Mainland here.
Yeah, I did. It was a little bit hairy coming up over the Coquihalla this morning, but made it here and excited to be here.
Yeah, well, it's a feature of winter, I guess, right?
For sure.
I should start filming this stuff in the summertime and maybe they'll enjoy their drive down a little bit more.
Yeah, be a little bit easier to get down here. But
yeah. Well, I'm glad you're here. Now, we'd like to give everybody an opportunity here in the beginning of the show. Tell us a little bit about yourself, about how you started filming hunts or where your channel is, all that kind of stuff.
Hey, I'm Caleb Bergman, and started hunting 10 years ago. I didn't grow up hunting, but just got really addicted to it right away and started the Instagram, I think, 6 years ago now, and didn't really have the intentions to start filming hunts, but picked up a camera and just thought I'd give it a try. And it was really rough to start. First couple will never see the light of day, but I think we've made some big improvements. It's BC Wild Outdoors on YouTube and b.c.wild on Instagram. Not always as active on there as I'd like to be, but it's something that I'm working on. And the hunts aren't, always the best. We try to be very, very real with it. So we, have shown misses before and shown unsuccessful hunts and stuff along those lines. But
well, that is real. That's the reality of hunting.
Yeah. So we really try to show that reality of hunting. And when we are successful, not a 5-star chef by any means, but I like to do a little bit of catch and cook too, and just always trying to learn and, just really trying to showcase what the life that we like to live. So I do think our camera work and stuff is starting to get a little bit better and have some big plans for this season. So hopefully our season 3 will be a little bit better than, I don't think it's necessarily been bad, but
yeah, it's a challenge, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's,
you're trying to hunt, you're trying to stock game, and you're fumbling around with cameras.
Yeah.
and you delay doing things because you got to get the camera set up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It doesn't make it easy. So
yeah, it's harder than people think it is.
Yeah. And I do a lot of self-filming and stuff too, which makes it even more difficult. So just always trying to be better in that aspect and working on my editing and working on my actual camera work and just trying to put the best product out there I can and have a lot of fun doing it. So I really like the end results, and it's you can tell people your story of your hunt, but it's a lot cooler, I think, when you can just show them what you saw. And
that stuff's nice to have too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You'll have those memories forever.
Yeah.
Whereas people that maybe don't put in that effort, because it is a lot of effort, you may have a mount, but if you don't mount anything, you just have your memories.
Yeah. So just have a ton of fun doing it, and just always trying to get better at it, and seeing lots of improvement in our content, and just keep working towards trying to be a little bit bigger in the community. And just, there's a lot of great content creators in BC already. And so, would just like to be kind of a part of that group.
Awesome. So what kind of hunt are we talking about today?
This is a mountain goat hunt I'm going to be talking about. It was before we started filming hunts, but it was probably the hardest I've ever worked physically in my life, and just a real mental grind too. So it was just a lot of fun. It was with 2 of my best friends, Kane and Clayton, and draw unit. My buddy had drawn in the area the year before and didn't see any goats. And then he got a tip on someone that he'd run into out there. And I was lucky enough to draw it the next year. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. So what area of British Columbia was this?
This is up in Region 7.
Okay. And that's where, for people that aren't from?
Kinbasket Lake.
Okay.
Area, yeah.
So northern British Columbia?
Northern British Columbia, yeah.
Awesome. I guess we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So on the first day we made the drive out there, and got there a little bit late. We were hoping to get there a little bit earlier in the day just so we could start getting a look. Like, we'd seen this area from a distance in the past, but we'd never really seen it up close. So got there, ended up getting a little too dark to glass. We were hoping to glass that night. Just me and Kane got there at first, and Clayton likes to show up a little bit late. Didn't roll until about midnight that night. Woke us all up before one of the biggest hikes we've been on. And
well, it's good, right? You got to have the right people with you.
yeah, absolutely. Those two, they love to grind it out with me. So we've been on some pretty gnarly hikes together in the past. So I knew they were the two that were going to be perfect to come on this hunt with me, because, you know, anybody that's hunted goats knows how challenging it can be. And so, you know, we're down in the very bottom of the valley, and I think the tallest peak was about 7,000 feet of elevation gain. So knowing that we might have to do that. But first day, you know, turns morning, and we're getting ready to start glassing, and we just kind of wanted to get a feel of the area to start. So doing lots of glassing and stuff from camp. We were lucky enough where we ended up camping, where we could glass right from camp, and just, it's a pretty big unit. So wanted to see if, first of all, where we could access places and stuff like that. It's very cliffy country, so it's not always as easy as just walking up to the goat and getting up there. So I did a bit of glassing, did a bit of driving around, ended up finding this cut block that, you know, cut off quite a bit of elevation, a couple thousand feet the time you climb up the road, and just kind of spent the whole day glassing and seeing what we could find. And weren't really turning up any goats, which, you know, was a bit of a disappointment at start. But about, I'd say probably 3 o'clock on the first day, we decided to go back to camp and just glass from camp. And finally, with about an hour of light left, picked up our first goat, which is a good sign. But he was basically at the peak. He was probably 7,000 feet above us. So, and we didn't know if we were going to be able to get to him. There's a pretty big band of cliffs between us. And, you know, we was trying to look at maps, trying to figure out if we thought we could even get up there. We know it's going to take more than a day to get to where this one was. So end up finding a couple more goats up there, but we're still interested in that cut block, just because if we could cut 2,000, 3,000 feet of elevation off that we could drive up, it's going to make things a lot easier. So next morning we get up, glass, make sure the goat's still there. He is. So we kind of got that in our back pocket, but not really wanting to try and get on that one, because the time we get up there, you don't know if he's moved. You don't know if he's even going to be in the area anymore. And, you know, wanting to know it's a bill, he's so far away from us at this point. Like, you go all the way up there just to find out it's a group of nannies hanging out in there. So we decided to go check out that cut block one more time, make the drive over to the cut block, get up there, and almost immediately picked up a couple more goats. So just knowing that there's goats in that area too, we kind of thought, let's just go for a quick hike, make sure that we can get through the tree line and get into the alpine, and we're not going to hit any big obstacles, like no cliffs, or and then just kind of planning to go for 2-3 hours and then come back down, pack the bags and backpack in once we know that we can actually get up there and actually spend a reasonable amount of time up in that area. And we're all a little bit stubborn. Mm-hmm. So we start making the hike, and we're just planning on going for, 2-3 hours. So we didn't really pack a lot of food or water, but as we started knocking off some elevation and realizing that we could get up there, and I mean, it was a bit of a miserable hike, very fresh burn, like possibly even had burnt that summer. So the ground was super soft, and we were all covered in ash. And as we were kind of making our way to the top, we stopped for lunch, hadn't found any more goats, spent a good amount of time just sitting glassing. But at this point we can kind of see the peak. So being stubborn, we decided to kind of keep pushing and just kind of kept pushing. And at this point we're completely out of food. We thought we'd be able to find more water up there, but it's dry. There's no water up there. And whole way up, we're kind of joking that, we're going to get there and it's just this picture perfect peak, and there's just going to be a goat just laying right under it. So we're kind of getting closer to the top. And as we're kind of getting up there, there's a bit of a ridge and it kind of plateaus a little bit. And my buddy Clayton was the first one to kind of hit that top of that plateau. And just as he kind of started to peek over the top, he just suddenly dropped to his knees and just motions us right away. He can see something. So I kind of crawled up next to him, and sure enough, laying right underneath the peak, there's a goat bedded right there. So got the tripod on him, got the glass on him. It was pretty obvious he was a billy right away, even as inexperienced goat hunters, but was carrying pretty good mass and had all the right characteristics to be a billy.
So do you have to age him? Like how do you age him?
You don't have to age goats. Any goat is technically a legal goat, just because it's so hard to distinguish between a billy and a nanny. But it's very hard on populations to kill nannies because they just, it's every couple of years that they give birth. And so if you're taking the nannies out of the population, it can drive a population down really quick. So as much as it would have been legal if it was a nanny, the hope, you're going to be killing billies.
Right.
So, we made the call and was pretty sure it was a billy, and it was about 400 yards out. So I can shoot that far. I practice out to that far, but I prefer to be a little closer, especially it's windy, it's in the alpine. So just knew it was time to make a stalk. The goat was snoozing, like we could see him kind of falling asleep, and so it's ideal. He's looking straight down at us, but kind of an ideal stalk situation. So had a bit of a ridge that I could disappear behind. So kind of dropped back down, dropped a little bit of elevation, was able to kind of walk down the ridge a little bit and then make an army crawl back up into position. When I popped up the top, he must have heard me because he's now wide awake and staring directly down on me. And at this point, just the way he was laying in some cliffs, all I can see is his head. I can see no vitals, nothing. So I can just see his head just staring down at me, just giving me the stink eye. And
he's weighing his options.
Yeah. And so he was quite high above me. He's not too panicked yet. I have found with goats that they don't worry about stuff below them as much because they know they can pretty much outclimb anything. So, and it's pretty cliffy up above him. So he knows that he can disappear into something that we're never going to be able to get to him. So he's staring us down, and I'm, about 300 yards from him now, trying to get in position to take my shot. But he's so far above me that I actually can't get my rifle elevated enough to find him through the scope. So I ended up having to take a rock, and I was digging out a little spot to try and get my butt down a little bit. And right as I'm getting ready and I can finally kind of find him through my scope, and he stands up. It's perfect. Now I can see all his vitals. He stands up and turns around and disappears into a cliff. So now I'm getting a little bit concerned. Can't see him and trying to resist the urge to just get up and run up there and just trying to keep myself patient. I'm not always the most patient hunter. It's something I'm working on as a hunter. And so he's completely out of sight, but I'm trying to tell myself, just stay. He's probably going to pop out again. And sure enough, he kind of pops out just below the peak and kind of turns and gives me a bit of a broadside shot. By the time I was able to get readjusted and back on him, he turns and was giving me the old Texas heart shot. So hoping that he's going to turn one more time. And right as he kind of gets to the top, the goat finally turns and he just stops there for a second. And I'm, trying to get steady. I'm now figuring I'm close to 350 yards. So for me in that situation, like I'm not a sharpshooter by any means. Everything needs to be perfect. And right as he went to turn again, to walk out of our lives forever, I was able to, find a spot and feel like I was perfectly steady, perfectly ready, and squeezed one off. It's never been so obvious that I've hit an animal with the cloud of dust that ended up blowing off him. Like it was, I've never seen anything like it. Just, he was so dirty. So, it was very obvious that I'd hit him. When we were able to watch the footage back, because one of my buddies had stayed behind and had kept the phone scope on him. It was obvious that I'd spined him. So I was a little bit high on my shot, but it ended up being very fatal in the end. And he scurried down the mountain and kind of completely disappeared out of sight. We made the pretty classic mistake of leaving our backpacks behind. It's something you should never do. And then just kind of in the excitement and wanting to get up there and, make sure he died as quickly as possible, we didn't go back for our backpacks right away. So ended up we had the idea too that we thought we'd be able to drag him down to where I shot from. Cause when you're looking at them, they don't look like it's not like trying to drag an elk, but they're a lot more dense than you would think. And there ended up being a big boulder field with some big boulders we had to climb. So get up there, find him right away. He only made it maybe 50 yards. So, excitement. But now at this point, it's 4:30. It's getting dark within an hour or two.
And you've been burning energy like crazy
Burning
all
energy.
day.
Yeah, we're about 5 kilometers, 3,000 feet above where the truck is parked. So completely out of food, completely out of water. So we know that we're in for a task, and didn't have any of our backpacking gear, anything like that with us. So we knew we were in for a long night. So I actually stayed, my buddies once we realized we couldn't drag them, the boys went back and actually collected our backpacks, knowing that we were going to have to start packing them out right from there. I actually cut the whole goat up with my Leatherman, which was very dull and not exactly easy.
But it had to be done.
Had to be done.
And you're not leaving them, not after that.
No, absolutely not. He was coming home with me. And packed him up, got him in the backpack, and started the pack down. Time we had him all cut up and in the backpack and everything, it was already pitch black at this point, and this was one of the hardest tests of my mental strength. The amount of times I wanted to just lay down and just sleep there and figure it out in the morning. It crossed my mind multiple times. Like I'd mentioned earlier, the ground was extremely soft. Like once we got out of the boulders, which turned out to be one of the easy parts, which would normally be one of the hardest parts.
Yeah.
We were sinking constantly, and I'd had my GPS tracking us on the way up, but at some point during the stalk, it had fallen out of my pocket and I lost it. So we weren't able to take the exact route down. And there was a creek bottom that was full of head-high alders. And we knew it was going, we didn't want to be in the creek bottom, but we kept ending up in there. And as, we were starting to get closer to the truck, it's well after midnight, it's after 1 a.m. We keep stumbling over each other. I remember at one point we're thinking we have to be close. And one of my buddies trips in the alders and he falls, and then ended up taking us all down with him. So our wipeout was pretty much completely caused by Clayton, and we're now all laying.
Nice of you to make sure that everyone knows that.
Yeah,
that's
for
good.
sure.
Yeah, I'm sure he appreciates it.
Yeah.
Actually.
So we're now laying in a complete pile, and looking back at it now, it's one of the funniest moments of, the hunt. But in the moment, it wasn't all that funny. And
well, you're exhausted, right?
Oh, just
beat up, and
physically,
no food, no water.
mentally, yeah. And so we're pretty beat up at this point. And
did it cause a disagreement?
Not too much.
All right, I was just checking.
Yeah, there was a lot of complaining going on by this point, but
right.
So yeah, we're laying in a pile, and iHunter was a relatively new thing, and we were trying to use it, but we weren't using it properly. And it kept telling us we had 500 meters left. So we kept thinking we were getting close, and at this point, we're laying in a pile. We have no idea where we are. We know we have to be close back to the truck, or at least we keep telling ourselves we are. And I remember we're all just laying there complaining about it. And suddenly Clayton pops up and he's just, I can't do this anymore. I just need to get off this mountain. So we hear him go crashing through the bush, and we just hear a bit of crashing and then just a loud whap. And then you just hear, I found the road, come through the trees. And he had been pushing through the alders and then just all of a sudden pushed into the wide open of the road and just did a faceplant right there. So I've never popped up so fast, especially after all that complaining, and Kane was right behind me, and we pushed through the last 20 yards and hit the road and got back down to the truck, and taking the pack off has never felt that good.
Yeah.
That's the hardest I've ever physically worked, and just, it was very hard mentally, and just trying to keep pushing yourself to just keep going.
But how long was this hunt start to finish?
About 15 hours.
Oh,
I think
okay.
we left my truck at 9 a.m. that morning and got back at 2 a.m. the next day.
So it was long, but it was quick.
It was quick. It was a long day, but it happened very quick. We were able to put it together really quickly, which was good because we were about to head out on an elk hunt right after that. So
yeah, well, it was a cool story.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. All right, before we run out of time, where can people find you? Where can they find your work?
People can find me on YouTube and Instagram. We're constantly working to put out more content. We're trying to become a little more consistent with it. It's something that I really come to enjoy working on. So come this fall, I'm going to be releasing our 3rd season, and got quite a few filmed already, and got some, really, really big plans for this fall. Hopefully going on a sheep hunt again this year, and bought my first bow, so I'll be trying to get into bow hunting and stuff a little bit this year too for
Awesome.
spring bears. And yeah, so it's BC Wild Outdoors on YouTube. Really appreciate anyone that subscribes. It's, you know, a lot of help for us just to continue making this kind of stuff. And b.c.wild on Instagram.
That's awesome. Well, thanks very much, Caleb, for coming today. And I appreciate the story. It was awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a lot of fun.
What's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you on a hunt?
Had a bit of a run-in with a grizzly. We're coming back down the mountain, and we'd had my buddy's quad stashed there, and realized that there was a bear standing right beside the quad. Usually they'll take off. Not this bear. He turned around, started walking right towards us. My buddy Clayton put one in his feet. He kind of took off on a full tilt directly towards us. Put another one in his feet. The bear just kind of spun on the spot and then just laid down there. So we ended up kind of sneaking back up the mountain, and I don't think we've ever jumped on a quad so fast. We shuttled in on the quad, but we got all three of us on that quad, and we got out of there.